time to test how much you remember from this year.
This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
I called him Governor Trudeau because they should be the 51st state, really. It would make a great state, and the people of Canada like it.
President Trump wants to break us so America can own us. We will not let that happen.
We will bear any burden and pay any price to protect the sovereignty and independence of our country.
Obviously, I'm disappointed that we could not win more seats, but I'm not disappointed in our movement. I'm hopeful for our party.
Some of you apparently came back from the dead to be Liberals here tonight. Some may have just joined our party. Like literally, just joined our party.
These last 12 months have been a trip. 2025 brought big political headlines, new partisan players, and plenty of parliamentary surprises. So let's see what you and our contestants recall from it all. I'm Catherine Cullen, and this is the House's annual year-end news quiz. Your chance to test your trivia smarts against 3 Parliament Hill watchers as we wrap up a year of massive change in Canadian politics. Let's see which headlines you remember. This special edition of the House is now in session. All right, we have 3 eager, quiz-ready contestants with us here in studio. Christopher Nardi, parliamentary reporter with the National Post. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Shannon Proudfoot, feature writer at the Globe and Mail. Hello again.
Hi.
And Alex Ballingall, deputy Ottawa bureau chief for the Toronto Star. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Everybody feeling ready? Excited?
Psyched.
Let's go. Yeah. I'm ready to buzz.
Me too. Itchy trigger finger.
Quiz questions will cover up to the end of the last sitting week of Parliament. Each question is worth 1 point. Contestants, you can only buzz once I've finished reading the question, and you have to wait until I call your name before giving your answer. Everybody got that?
Yep.
Now let's hear those buzzers so we know who is who. Alex. Chris. Shannon. Let's get into it. Here we go, into round 1.
I was not ready for that.
January kicked off with more Liberals growing disgruntled with Justin Trudeau's leadership. Questions were swirling around the Prime Minister's next move. Trudeau finally revealed his decision to step down as Prime Minister and party leader. How many days into 2025? I think that was Shannon.
January 6th.
First point to Shannon. It was only about 6 weeks earlier that Trudeau had flown down to Mar-a-Lago to talk tariffs with then-President-elect Donald Trump. Which premier visited Mar-a-Lago in January for some of their own, quote, friendly and constructive conversation with the president-elect? I think that was Alex.
Danielle Smith.
You are right. Before January was up, a different premier decided to trigger an early election, saying a strong mandate was needed to deal with Donald Trump. Which premier called that election in their province? Giving that one to Chris.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford.
Let's hear the clip.
This is going to be a battle for the next 4 years, and I want to make sure that I have a strong mandate to outlast President Trump.
Okay, 1 point for everyone. So far, we're off to a strong start. Let's keep going. The final report from the public inquiry into foreign interference dropped in January. What did Justice Marie-Josée Hug say was the bigger threat to democracy than foreign interference? That's going to be Shannon.
Oh my God, my brain just went blank on the terminology. Like threats to foreign nationals in Canada from their home countries.
That is not correct. Alex, because Chris definitely knows the answer, having covered every day of this inquiry. But you hit your buzzer a little too soon there, my friend.
All right, bigger than, so not transnational repression, not foreign interference.
That was the term that escaped my brain.
It would be...
it's very popular these days.
Misinformation.
You are correct, sir. Oh, the little assist from Chris
Thank
Nardi.
you.
You get a little moral victory there, Chris, just not an actual point. Okay, moving on. February began with a significant speech delivered late on a Saturday evening. Let's have a listen, refresh our memories.
From the beaches of Normandy to the mountains of the Korean Peninsula, From the fields of Flanders to the streets of Kandahar, we have fought and died alongside you.
Who specifically was Trudeau speaking to? Was that you, Alex?
I think that was me twice. Donald Trump?
No. Shannon.
Americans?
The American people. He spoke about the impact of tariffs in the speech on Canada and the U.S. He spoke
Quite infamously, Donald Trump never fought in a war.
Okay, 2 days later, Trudeau and Trump had 2 phone calls in one day. The U.S. president ended up pausing tariffs on Canada temporarily after Trudeau made a series of commitments, including to appoint a what? I think that was the symbol, Chris.
A fentanyl czar, or commissioner of combating fentanyl, I think is the
I've never heard anyone hit the C in the czar quite like that. It was beautiful. It was beautiful,
Kevin
yes.
Rosso, well-known czarist.
Yes, indeed, a fentanyl czar. That's correct. As the trade war bubbled up, the Liberal leadership race was in full swing. Former BC Premier Christy Clark was mulling a run, but ultimately announced she wouldn't seek the leadership after walking back a claim she was never a member of the Conservative Party. It turns out she had joined the Federal Conservatives to support a leadership candidate in that party's 2022 race. Which candidate did Christy Clark support? I think that was Alex.
Jean Charest.
That is right. 4 candidates made it onto the final ballot for the Liberal leadership race, but the Liberal Party had initially greenlit 6 candidates as of January 27th. Name the other 2 greenlit candidates who did not make it onto the final ballot. Chris, go for it.
I know Ruby Dalla and the MP for Nepean was.
Can I split a point with them?
This is the second you say it.
There are no split points, so give Chris one more minute.
Ruby Dalla and...
Do I have to ring again if I want a chance?
Well, first Chris has to... I think we're going to say that this is not the moment.
No.
Shannon.
Ruby Dalla and Chandra Arya.
Except Chandra Arya was never greenlit.
Oh, tricky.
So that is not correct.
Whoa.
Alex, you got...
Okay,
Okay, Alex, is all yours.
I was sure it was Chandra Arya.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so Ruby Dalla, check.
I'm shook.
This is like ancient history. I feel
Yeah,
like we're talking
honestly,
about
I'm like digging into the depths here.
Okay, the correct answer is Jaime Batiste, who dropped out.
Yeah.
Which party sent an internal memo to candidates and campaign staff urging readiness for a snap election, saying it looked like Mark Carney would become Liberal leader and call one right away? Chris.
This is the NDP?
That is correct. The Conservatives held a Canada First rally in downtown Ottawa with hundreds of supporters dressed in red and white to coincide with which observed day in this country? Also, Chris.
Flag Day.
Yes, the Four Nations Face-Off hockey tournament took on new meaning in February when Canada beat the United States in the high-stakes final. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau posted to social media, quote, "You can't take our country and you can't what?" Chris.
It was Take Our Game?
Correct, sir. At the end of February, then NDP leader Jagmeet Singh called for Donald Trump to be barred from what summer event happening in Canada? Shannon.
The G7?
That's right. Which piece of legislation did Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre say he'd change in order to force party leadership candidates to disclose financial holdings before being elected in a swipe at Mark Carney? Alex.
The Accountability Act?
No. Chris.
It's the Conflict of Interest Act.
That is correct. Mark Carney won the Liberal leadership race in early March with a significant margin. Who won a greater percentage of points in his leadership race? Was it Mark Carney in 2025 or Justin Trudeau in 2013? Alex.
Mark Carney.
Yes, that is right. Carney captured 85.9% of points. Trudeau captured 80%. How many Senate appointments has Mark Carney made since becoming Prime Minister? Chris?
None.
That is right. In one of his very first acts as Prime Minister, Carney axed the consumer carbon tax. What was the price on carbon set to rise to on April 1st, 2025? Shannon.
I'm so excited because I thought to look this up before I came over here. $95.
You are correct. Yeah. I wish I could give you
cramming over lunch.
I wish I could give you 2 points for your level of enthusiasm.
If I'm not
there.
mistaken, we messed this one up really hard
We totally
2
did.
years ago.
I was remembering that, and I was like, I think it's going to come up.
That means it's time for a surprise bonus round. And this one is all about numbers. We're going to use Price is Right rules. Closest without going over gets the point, but also you're allowed to guess the same number as another contestant if you really think you have it bang on.
Do we then wrestle for who actually gets the point?
Well, it doesn't do very well on radio, unfortunately.
I could narrate.
We'll describe it.
You both would get a point should you both or all be right. Now, this is not meant to be easy, but you have nothing to lose by giving it a shot. We're going to cycle through each of you so everyone gets a chance to be the first one to guess, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. What was the highest monthly inflation rate seen in Canada this year? Chris, your eyes are huge. Make your guess.
4%.
Shannon.
I'm going to say 4 as well.
Alex.
I'm going to say 3.9.
No.
No, I think it's
no
like
one
2.
gets it.
Just
Everyone
no
went
to
over.
all of us.
You're all done.
You have to say 0.1 though.
Oh, yeah.
Price is Right strategy.
I messed that up.
Okay, the correct number. This is good, though. We're working out strategies.
Okay,
It's good.
okay.
The correct number is 2.6, which was February's inflation rate.
A journalist's not good with numbers.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, we're going to try our best. How many fewer Canadians crossed the border into the U.S. in the popular travel month of March compared to the previous year? Shannon.
300,000 fewer.
Alex.
279,000.
Chris.
I'm going to go with 100,000.
I believe Shannon got the closest there. The actual number is 864,844.
Didn't even know there were that many Canadians.
We were mad.
Now this one's might blow your mind a little bit too. Canada Post, big in the news this year. What is the current cost of a single individually purchased stamp? Alex, how much you pay for one stamp right now?
$1.10.
Chris.
I'm going to go with $1.30.
Shannon.
I'm going to go $1.40.
Shannon, again, it is $1.44 for a single stamp.
Rip off.
If you buy it on its own.
That's bananas. I could hire a pigeon for this.
What kind of pigeons are you hiring?
Good question. That's an excellent question.
Some low-rent pigeons there,
Very cheap
Shannon.
pigeons from Team Here.
Yeah.
A record number of advance votes were cast in this year's federal election. How many Canadians voted during advanced polls?
Boy.
It is in the millions. Chris.
I want to say 6 million.
Shannon.
7 million.
Alex.
7,000,001.
7.3 million.
All right, it worked. I finally did it.
Now we've got
Redemption.
Okay, following the annual increase of April 1st, 2025, what is the annual salary of the Prime Minister of Canada?
Oh, boy.
Shannon, you're up first.
300,000. I'm going to go 300,000.
Alex.
$347,000.
Chris.
I go with 330, I believe.
The correct number is $419,600. Alex.
Wow.
Sign me up.
We were all way off.
Jokes, that's not problem.
Yeah, that's not worth it.
How many parliamentary secretaries are there? Alex.
21.
Chris.
I like that number, actually. I'm going to go with 22.
Shannon.
I somehow thought it was a lot less. I'm going to go with 1 and just be strategic.
Chris was the closest. The correct number is 39.
Because it's usually one per minister, more or less.
Well, and in some cases, they
And
certainly have
sometimes
two.
they have two,
Yeah, I guess. What am I
wanted to
thinking?
play it
Yeah.
safe.
Last one in this round. How many government bills have reached royal assent since the election? Chris, make your guess.
4.
Shannon.
3.
Alex.
It's 4.
The answer is 5. Ooh, both of you get 1 point.
Yeah, big dub!
Okay, this is a good time to take a moment and chat a bit about the year that was. While only 5 government bills got through Parliament, there was still plenty of change this year under the new Carney government. I would like to know from you folks, what do you think is the most significant policy change we've seen from this new Liberal chapter? Alex?
For me, I think it's maybe the shift on climate. I know that might be a cop-out because there's many policies in that bucket, but starting with the consumer carbon price getting dumped, going through to the MOU with Alberta last month, it's a significant change from the vibe and the specific policies from the Trudeau era. I don't think we've seen kind of the dust totally settle on where they're going to land yet, but I think that, for me, that's the biggest one.
And it's so fascinating because, of course, climate is part of the Mark Carney story, right? I think a lot of people understood that as being a fundamental, I feel like I'm making a pun here, values of his. Chris, what do you think?
I think that one of the more understated changes that will show probably its effects in future is what we commonly call here the comprehensive expenditure review. But more importantly, it's basically the Carney government's desire and attempt to redraw how the public service works in both function and size. And I say that only because amongst all the news of like these letters going out of layoffs, and a lot of public servants are actually going to go into the holidays wondering if they're going to keep their job or not. The very complex part of this exercise is not only trying to remove all this red tape. That governments, there's no government that goes in and says, I can't wait to implement more red tape. I'm so pumped about this. There might be some, but I don't know them, and they didn't last for very long, I'm going to assume. But these exercises are extraordinarily complex, and they're very hard to do well. And the big concern that a lot of people have about how the current layoffs and just reduction of size of the public service is that you're cutting at the top with early retirements, and you're cutting at the bottom with entry-level contracts, terms, what we call students. And so the way that it's all happening is really reshaping, I think, ultimately in a few years, how the public service will look. And it will be extremely determinative in how the public service is able to provide or not services in the future. And I'm very, very curious to see how this plays out. It's a multi-year exercise, but it's a very serious exercise, and it happens very quietly, the changes within departments.
Well, and it's interesting because I think you talk to people around the Carney government, and there is a desire in the upper echelons to have this be an exercise that actually changes how government works, what government does, a more fundamental shift, but that's a really hard thing to do. And the extent to which it's possible here, I think, is a big question mark, too.
And it requires a rethink, too, of how the public service thinks. Michael Sabia said very famously early in his term, he said, process is not an outcome. And for a long time in the federal public service, getting something done was making sure you checked all the boxes. They're trying to change that, but you've got decades of that culture that you're trying to break out. It's not a quick and easy exercise.
Okay, Shannon, what's your pick?
The biggest shift to me, and it's okay, Alex, mine's a cop-out answer too, except I really mean it, is this very ruthless making of priorities. To me, that is a massive shift from a Trudeau government to a Carney government. The Trudeau government, I mean, you could see it most vividly in the budget. It was like a chicken in every pot, let 1,000 flowers bloom. It was this very self-conscious, I think, exercise in making sure every person could sort of see themselves in budget, in policy, and talking points. And the Carney government, it is like, we are not doing any of that anymore. We are not really doing climate policy, although they will continue to talk as though they are. We're not doing feminist foreign policy. All this kind of feel-good values stuff. It's this ruthless priority making. We're just focusing on the economy. We're saying no to a whole bunch of things. And the very fact of making priorities to me seems like a massive change from the previous crew.
Interesting stuff. A lot of interesting things that are going to continue into the new year. Let's do a little score update before we proceed. Shannon is at 6 points. Alex is at 7. And Chris currently has 9.
I'm just going to walk out right now. Thank you.
Well, we know who has a target on their back.
And on that note,
Just buzzer.
Back to the quiz. Name 2 ministers Carney brought into the cabinet fold in March, but did not reinstate in his cabinet post-election. Shannon.
Nate Erskine-Smith and Kamal Kara.
No.
Oh, rats.
Alex.
Cody Blois and Nate Erskine-Smith.
No. I would point out the question asks, brought into the cabinet fold in March, but did not reinstate. Chris.
Nate Erskine-Smith and Mark Miller?
So Nate Erskine-Smith is the one tripping you all up. He was already in cabinet.
We kept thinking we had
He was that JT lefty.
So Cody Blois, yes. We also would have accepted Ariel Kayabaga and Ali Assasi. Shortly after being reappointed to his role, then Defense Minister Bill Blair shared that Canada would be reviewing its purchase of F-35 fighter jets from the U.S. How many F-35s total has Canada agreed to buy? Alex?
16.
No. Chris?
I think it's 17.
Shannon? You want to give this a shot?
I can just make up a number because this is not my file. 25.
Canada has agreed to buy 88. Next question, how many F-35s has Canada already paid for?
Oh, there we
And that is Alex.
16.
That is correct.
There it is.
Which two current cabinet ministers originally announced in late 2024 and early 2025 they would be leaving politics and then reversed course to declare they would run again in the 2025 election? Shannon.
Anita Anand and Sean Fraser.
Correct. Which former party leader wrote in a provocative Globe and Mail op-ed during the campaign that a vote for the Liberals would be, quote, a vote for the breakup of Canada as we know it? Shannon.
Preston Manning.
Correct. In a campaign announcement, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre talked about invoking the notwithstanding clause to deal with certain criminal justice issues. When is the last time a prime minister used the notwithstanding clause? I think that was Alex.
Never.
Correct. The NDP and the Bloc requested a change to the start time for the French language leaders debate because it conflicted with what? Chris.
A match of the Montreal Canadiens.
That is right. Speaking of the debates, the commission had originally allowed the Green Party to participate, but rescinded the invite last minute. Why did the commission say the Greens couldn't participate? Alex.
Because they had not actually nominated enough candidates.
We will accept that the number of candidates, it was a discrepancy between the number of endorsed candidates the party had originally submitted and the number of confirmed candidates. So yes. The NDP lost its official party status this election. That happened to them only one time before, after which election? Alex.
1993.
Correct. How many ridings ended up being so close in this election, they went to judicial recounts? Chris.
I think it was 3?
Nope. Alex.
4.
That's right.
Total gas.
Worked out for you. Which riding ended up being decided by one vote? Chris.
Terrebonne.
Oui, c'est vrai. Terrebonne in Quebec. Before Carney introduced his new cabinet, he was off to the Oval Office to sit down with Trump. Name and provide the then correct portfolio for, I saw Shannon's eyes shoot open there. Name and provide the then correct portfolio for 2 other ministers present at that first Oval Office meeting. Chris.
So Industry Minister Melanie Joly and Intergovernmental Affairs and Canada-U.S. Relations Minister Dominic LeBlanc.
One of those portfolios is incorrect. Alex.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly and Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc.
That's right, because Melanie Joly is Industry Minister now. She was Foreign Affairs Minister at the time.
Pre-Schaff. Yeah.
Oh, tough one.
Just a few days later, those ministers and many of their colleagues gained new titles. How many Trudeau-era ministers stuck around in Carney's post-election cabinet? Shannon.
That was sort of an itchy trigger finger, but I'm going to make a guess. 14?
No, close. Alex.
8.
Chris.
12.
The correct answer is 13.
Oh, we don't know who they are. Anyway.
Price is Right rules.
Unlucky 13 for you guys there. Parliament opened with plenty of pomp and circumstance in May as King Charles arrived to deliver the speech from the throne. Which 3 former prime ministers were present at the event? Chris there first.
So Justin Trudeau, Stephen Harper, and Jean Chrétien.
No. One of those was wrong. I believe it was Alex next.
So Harper, Trudeau, and Joe Clark.
No. Shannon, you want to take a stab at it?
That was actually going to be my guess,
But it's
too.
wrong. So
I know it's wrong. Harper, Trudeau. I know it wasn't Martin. Brian Mulroney died the year before. So
Just a few seconds here.
Sorry, who else was there?
The correct answer is Kim Campbell.
Oh, God!
I thought you were going to ask what shoes was Trudeau wearing.
That's what we all remember.
Green and orange
Those shoes.
Attention-seeking shoes.
Yeah.
What is the name of the book Mark Carney was supposed to publish in May? Shannon.
I just can't remember how minimalist it was. Hinge moment or Hinge?
We're going to accept that the answer is The Hinge.
The
but
Hinge.
Oh,
Sure.
wow.
Still, no information about when this book will
I really
find
want to
us.
see that book.
He says the
Indeed.
word a lot. Though, so.
Which world leader stopped in Ottawa en route to Alberta for the G7 to meet one-on-one with Carney and grab a pint in a pub? Alex.
Keir Starmer.
That's correct. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. What game were they watching on TV at the bar? Shannon.
An Oilers playoff game.
Correct. Stanley Cup Finals. Edmonton Oilers versus Florida Panthers. Carney met with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G7 in a move that marked a defrosting of Canada-India relations. The two leaders both agreed to reinstate what? Shannon.
Diplomatic representation.
We will accept that. We were looking for their high commissioners, but
Sorry.
that's A-okay with us. Bill C-5, the Liberals' major projects bill, flew through the House of Commons in June after being introduced earlier that month. One Liberal MP voted against C-5. Who was it? Alex.
Sort of guessing Nate Erskine-Smith?
It was indeed Nate Erskine-Smith.
Maverick.
The last surviving member of the old Parliament Hill cat colony died in July. What was the beloved black cat's name? Good name for a black cat. Nothing to lose. Ooh,
Shadow?
Chris? Pardon?
Shadow?
No, nice try, no. Anyone else want to guess at a good name for a black cat?
As a certified cat lady, I will guess.
Shannon?
Soot.
No, close. So close. Oh, wait.
Can I? Okay.
No.
I have another guess.
Just
I mean, if you felt like really Christmassy, I guess you could give him the answer. Cinder. Don't take that gift.
Oh, never mind. It was a lump of coal.
All right, moving on. The correct answer is coal.
Oh, good name.
In a July interview on this program, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre attributed losing his former riding of Carleton due to an aggressive campaign by whom? Chris.
Public servants.
Let's hear what the Conservative leader had to say.
I was very clear that we would be cutting the federal bureaucracy if I was Prime Minister. And it was an Ottawa riding with a lot of federal public servants who disagreed with that approach. And they ran a very aggressive campaign, particularly the public sector unions did, to defeat me on that basis.
There we go. Also in July, the Prime Minister held a summit with First Nations leaders to discuss major projects legislation. While some voiced support, others warned it could lead to another protest movement like the one that erupted in 2012 in response to the Harper government. What was the name of that movement? Shannon.
I don't know more.
That's right. Why were write-in ballots required for the Battle River Crowfoot by-election? I think that was Chris.
Because of the longest ballot initiative.
Indeed, the massive number of candidates on the ballot. Pierre Poilievre won that by-election handily with 80.9% of the votes. Who came in second? Alex.
I don't know their name, and I'm guessing anyways that the NDP candidate?
No. Chris.
It was an independent candidate.
That we will accept independent candidate. Her name?
Yeah.
Bonnie Critchley.
Bonnie Critchley.
Right, nice.
All right. We're going to take a minute here and look at where this year has left the opposition. We focused earlier on how much of a change this year was for the Liberals. And I should add, we are recording this episode before the holidays. Who knows?
Anything
what
could happen in this, the
happen?
year of our Lord 2025.
But we do want to talk about where this year has left the opposition parties. Where has it left the Conservatives, Chris?
Reeling, certainly, because they are looking at each other, wondering if there's more floor crossers in their midst. I think it is actually rather remarkable how well Michael Ma, the gentleman who just crossed from the Conservatives to Liberals, covered his tracks up until the very last day, going to the Conservative Christmas party, participating in the Secret Santa. I know for a fact.
My favorite detail of that is, though, apparently he received but did not
didn't
give.
Yes.
Was that
Jamil
from your
Giovanni
story?
wants his
It was brilliant.
Jamil Giovanni wants his gift, I guess.
I believe Jamil Giovanni also described Michael Maude dancing in a conga line. I don't know if there's a little bit of hyperbole there, but
Like, how do you recover from that? You know?
If you're at the party, might as well rip it.
Shannon, what do you think the Conservatives, like, where are they at now?
So, as is my wont, I have a silly analogy for this.
Love it.
Which is that in an early season of The Simpsons, there's an episode where Marge wants to go into a business, and she decides to go into a food franchise. And she kind of picks up with this like sad sack pretzel wagon that just makes everyone sad to look at. And her frenemies get this shiny, fancy pita truck, and they pull up outside the plant, and Lenny says, "Hey, look at that pita truck. It looks like it doesn't even need our business." And everyone goes over there. And I think that Pierre Poilievre used to be a pita truck, and right now he's a pretzel wagon. And that is a real shift of vibe for him, is how I would describe this. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That is one of the most incredible things I heard in all of 2025, Shannon.
I do my best.
Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Conservatives are, they're obviously not having the best time being a pretzel wagon and, bleeding MPs to the Liberals. It's going to be interesting if he can kind of pull out of this. I think most people are expecting him to get to the leadership review, get through it. I guess it's a question about how much he wins that. So if it puts out fires or creates fires for him, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I do want to just take a quick beat, and Alex, I'll ask you about the NDP and what things look like for them. I did grit my teeth as I said that, because obviously 2025 was a tough year. So looking ahead, can you give me a thought about them?
Yeah, if it's bad for the Conservatives, it's probably even worse, I think, for the NDP, losing official party status, their worst election result ever. I think they're facing some major questions about their place in federal politics and kind of what orientation as a social democratic party they're going to take.
And existential questions, you think?
I don't know about existential. We hear that word thrown around a lot. I don't think that they're going extinct, but they're on the verge of becoming like long-term irrelevant, especially if the Liberals can tip over to a majority. I think there's big questions about how they can recover and what the best path forward is for them.
And Chris, can I get a thought from you about the Bloc?
I think they're actually they've realized they're in a surprisingly good position for a very specific reason. The way that committees are composed, they hold the balance of power basically always. There's for the vast majority of committees, there's 4 Liberals, 4 Conservatives, and then 1 Bloc MP because you're excluding the chair. So they kind of always have the balance, and they've realized through some of the legislation that the Liberals likely have to go through them to get bills out of committee, and they're kind of reveling in that position right now.
Shannon, a little last thought from you?
I do think the NDP sort of choosing their direction from here is existential in the sense that they have a leadership race with very different visions on the table, very different ideas about what they will be, who they will be talking to, how they will inhabit that. I'm still willing to believe that the April election result was sort of a very strange aberration of a moment in time, and that maybe we are not headed to being a two-party state, but the NDP is sure going to have to kind of pick themselves up and define themselves fast to make that not happen.
Okay, the quiz will be right back. You are listening to the House's annual year-end quiz show. I'm Catherine Cullen, and I'm joined by 3 parliamentary journalists, Christopher Nardi of the National Post, Shannon Proudfoot of the Globe and Mail, and Alex Ballingall of the Toronto Star. We've got a score update from Emma, our quizmaster extraordinaire in the control room. Shannon has 12 points, Chris has 14, and Alex has just slightly pulled ahead with 15 points. It is still...
Oh, should have walked out.
Whoa, I thought I was last.
Still anyone's game. Oh my goodness. To that end, it's time for another bonus round, a chance to get those scores up between the Liberal leadership campaign, the election campaign, and a highly anticipated return to Parliament. A lot has been said by political players this year. I'm going to read you a quote, and you have to guess who said it. As soon as I finish saying the quote, you can buzz in, but remember, wait until I call your name. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Here we go. Who said, "You can't bring a calculator to a knife fight"? I think that was Alex.
Karina Gould.
Let's listen.
We have so much to offer, but also the Americans depend on us. And you can't bring a calculator to a knife fight. You have to fight very strongly and with the right tools. And that's exactly what I'm going to do as Prime Minister.
Karina Gould, you are right. Next, Even though you are a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. Shannon.
This is a blind guess based on syntax. Yves-François Blanchet?
No.
And I'll try. I'll say Pierre Poilievre.
Nope. Alex, you want to go for it?
Elizabeth May.
No. Let's hear the correct answer.
Oh, I think I figured.
Even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
That is Justin Trudeau.
Who's that guy? That was a while ago.
Okay, that was Justin Trudeau. You remember him, the former Prime Minister, in a speech from March talking about Donald Trump. Next. Because he has a banker's haircut and he wears a normal pair of navy blue socks, don't think his position on these issues is any different than Trudeau. I believe that was Chris.
That was Pierre Poilievre.
Let's listen.
So let's not, because he has a banker's haircut and he wears a normal pair of navy blue socks, don't think his position on these issues is any different than Trudeau.
Indeed, Pierre Poilievre on the campaign trail. Here is another. We are, either we like it or not, part of an artificial country with very little meaning called Canada. Chris.
Yves-François Blanchet.
Let's listen.
We are, either we like it or not, part of an artificial country with very little meaning called Canada.
That is indeed Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet. Next, as the anthem reminds us, the true north is indeed strong and free. Who said it? Shannon.
Mark Carney?
No. Alex.
Jamil Giovanni.
No. Chris.
Doug Ford?
No, let's listen.
As the anthem reminds us, the true north is indeed strong and free.
His Majesty.
His Majesty.
That is King Charles delivering the speech from the throne. So in a manner of speaking, it was Mark Carney, but that's not who said it. That's not who said it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'll take that.
I mean,
I'll allow it.
but that's literally it. He's speaking the government's words.
True.
Moving on. Here's another. I don't like your word salad. It's true. You are a very bad minister. Alex.
I feel like Michelle Rumpel-Garner said that about somebody.
Let's listen.
Please continue.
I don't
to
like
do
your
what
word
you'd like.
salad. It's true.
So-
You are a very bad minister.
That is Conservative MP Michelle Rumpel-Garner speaking to Immigration Minister Lena Diab.
Right.
Minister Diab then responded, I prefer fatouche and tabbouleh to your salad.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay, we got a last one here. Vladimir Putin is a real-life Bond villain. Chris.
Volodymyr Zelensky?
No. Alex.
Shot in the dark here. Christopher Freeland.
No.
That was going to be my shot in the dark, too. I don't know.
Shannon.
Keir Starmer.
No. Let's listen.
And I don't accept a drink from him or anything like that. But look, so why is that? And I think it's because, like, Vladimir Putin is a real-life Bond villain. Like, he really is.
Never heard that.
Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He was speaking at a conference in Saskatoon this summer. Okay, on to the next round of questions. In the fall, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre called for which immigration program to be scrapped, saying it was making it harder for young Canadians to find work. Chris.
The Temporary Foreign Workers Program.
That is right. The NDP held a small caucus retreat before Parliament returned, which included a facilitator that brought in what kind of supplies?
I remember that story. I loved it.
Alex.
I'm kind of guessing based on vibe, but I want to say like puppets.
What vibe is that?
Like role playing and stuff?
That's a really remarkable answer. It is not the correct answer. Shannon.
Poster board and markers.
I'm going to give that to you. Art supplies.
Yes.
So yes,
Yeah.
the facilitator brought in art supplies. This was a story that made international headlines in October. The federal fisheries minister denied a request to export 30 what from Ontario to China? Chris.
Belugas.
That's right, 30 beluga whales. The big story that took over much of the fall had to do with a television ad. The Government of Ontario launched an ad campaign south of the border featuring a 1987 radio address from former U.S. President Ronald Reagan talking about free trade. First, how much was the ad buy expected to cost, according to the Premier's office? Chris.
$6 million.
No. Alex.
$30 million.
No. Shannon.
I feel like it was more like 50 million.
75 million.
Yeah.
The
Can't we
ad
just keep bidding?
The ad appeared before a lot of eyeballs south of the border as it aired during the playoffs of which major professional sports league? Chris.
Baseball.
That is right. The Major League Baseball, MLB. There would soon be blowback, but before that happened, U.S. President Donald Trump appeared to praise the ad, saying, quote, "I even see foreign countries now that we're doing very well with taking ads. Don't go with tariffs. I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd what?" Shannon.
Have done the same thing.
If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also. Yes, point to you. Later, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation claimed the ad misrepresented the presidential radio address, which prompted Trump to angrily post on social media, quote, "Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby what?" Chris.
Canceled?
No. Alex.
Terminated.
Correct. Not long after, Trump and Carney crossed paths at which South Korean summit? Chris.
APEC.
That's right, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. Okay, let's roll past these ads and on to the budget. 2 weeks before the budget, Carney delivered a 30-minute speech to University of Ottawa students filled with hints about what was to come, including potential challenges ahead. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre heavily criticized his message the very next day, calling it the what speech. I believe that was Chris.
Sacrifice?
Let's have a listen.
He asked young people to make more sacrifices. This was the sacrifice speech to Canadian youth.
There you go, Chris. Point to you. What did the budget project as the deficit for this fiscal year? It will not.
No. I didn't mean to. My finger slipped.
Alex.
$78.6 billion.
We will take it. $78 billion. The budget also contained new immigration targets. One particular category was slashed by 43%, aiming to admit only 385,000 people next year. Which category saw this drastic reduction? Shannon.
Students.
We were looking for something a little broader there, Quizmaster.
Oh, temporary residents?
Yes, we will give Shannon that point. Temporary residence is the answer we were looking for. Arguably, the biggest headline on Budget Day did not come out of the budget document. Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont crossed the floor from the Conservatives to join the Liberal caucus, bringing the governing party within 2 seats of a majority. How many seats were the Conservatives left with in Nova Scotia after this move? Alex.
0.
That's right. Before Chris D'Entremont, who was the last MP to cross the floor from one party to another? Chris.
Leona Alisev.
No.
What?
Does anybody want to take a guess? The correct answer is Jenica Atwin from the Greens.
Of course. Whoa. That was in a pandemic. That was a different world.
That went to the government. That wasn't fair.
Different dimension.
The Greens to the Liberals in 2021. Just 48 hours later, Conservative MP Matt Genereux announced he would also be leaving the Conservative caucus, this time resigning from the House of Commons entirely. His riding can be found in which city? Chris.
Edmonton.
That's right. The critical final vote on the budget narrowly passed 170 to 168 thanks to Green MP Elizabeth May voting with the Liberals and thanks to 4 abstentions for various reasons. Name 2 of the MPs who abstained. Alex.
Scott Reid, Andrew Scheer.
No. You are recalling the Great Curtain incident, but they did not ultimately abstain.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
So, Chris.
Gord John and Laurie Idloat.
That's right, as well as Conservative MPs Shannon Stubbs and Matt Genereux. In November, Bloc MP Louis Plamondon officially became the longest continuously serving member of Parliament in Canadian history. In what year was he first elected? Chris.
1984.
That's right, and he hasn't lost since, first elected as a progressive Conservative before he co-founded the Bloc. The federal government's energy deal with Alberta shook up federal-provincial relations and Carney's own team. Stephen Guilbeault resigned from cabinet, saying he strongly opposes the deal. What was the very first cabinet post he held in 2019? Alex.
The Heritage portfolio.
Minister of Canadian Heritage. Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, announced she would be stepping down in the new year. She's formally served in that role since 2020, but was also appointed by Carney this year to be what? Shannon.
To lead renegotiations on USMCA.
Canada's chief trade negotiator, yes. We are nearing the end. Just hours after the House of Commons rose for the holidays, Conservative MP Michael Ma announced he was crossing the floor to the Liberals. Which cabinet minister was reportedly heavily involved in the effort to bring him over? Alex.
Tim Hodgson.
That's right. The night of his big announcement, Michael Ma partied with the Liberals, but just 24 hours earlier, he was ringing in the holidays with the Conservatives. Which Conservative MP confirmed he never got a Secret Santa gift because Michael Ma had apparently picked his name? Nardi.
Jamil Javani.
That is right.
That is very alarming.
Or is it exciting? Because we are going to close things out with one last bonus round. A music round. We're going to play a song from a Canadian artist, and you have to guess who was Prime Minister when that track came out. We are going by album release date here, the month and year. Now, you do not need to buzz in and answer with the release date. All you need to do is correctly identify who was Prime Minister then, and you can score yourself an extra point by also naming the artist and song. 2 points up for grabs for each of these. Is everybody ready?
I'm locked in.
Okay.
You can buzz in at any time. So as soon as you hear the song, if you can identify the artist and title, but also who was Prime Minister then, go for it. Here we go. Hit it, Quizmaster.
Put your head on my shoulder.
All right, Alex.
I'm going to say Lester Pearson, and the artist might be like Paul Anka or something.
And it's called?
Put Your Head on My Shoulder.
Paul Anka, Put Your Head on My Shoulder, correct. The Prime Minister, not right. Does anyone else want to take a guess at who the Prime Minister was then? Chris.
Trudeau Sr.?
Nope. Shannon?
Joe Clark?
No, we're talking August 1959.
Oh, God.
Meaning
where?
John Diefenbaker was Prime Minister.
I almost had the Deeps, too. Yeah.
On to the next one. Alex.
I'm just going to go strictly PM on the musical vibe. Pierre Trudeau.
That is right. Do you want to take a guess at the artist and song title?
I want to say something like Rush or Chilliwack.
These are good guesses, but they are not correct.
I?
Chris Nardi. Okay.
No.
Chris buzzed in first.
Well, then you said it wasn't Rush. Lay it on the line. I think it's the name of the song. No.
Okay. Shannon, you want to give it a go?
I was going to guess Pat Benatar, but I don't know if she's Canadian. It's that voice.
The correct answer is Triumph with Lay It on the Line.
Wow.
Let's move on to the next one. Chris Nardi.
I'm going to go with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
That's right. Artist and song.
I think it's Grimes, but I couldn't tell you what
It is not
No?
Grimes.
Okay.
Shannon, I heard the cuckoo there.
No, I was going to go slightly earlier with the era. I was wrong, and I have no idea who that is.
Alex.
I have no idea who that. I was actually going to guess Grimes as well, but it was not as glitchy as I would think. But I don't know.
The correct answer is Tate McRae with her song Sports Car.
Sports Car.
What?
Calgary's own Tate McRae. Let's hear what's up next.
Now so long.
Alex.
So that's Leonard Cohen, So Long Marianne. I believe the year was 1967, which would make it, depending on when in the year, I think, either Pearson or Pierre Elliott Trudeau. I'm going to say Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
No!
Well, you get 1 point there. Does somebody want to? Do one of you guys want to? Chris Nardi.
It was Pearson?
Was that right for the year?
You were yes. It was
Oh, wow,
December. It was December 1967 when Lester Pearson was Prime Minister. It was indeed
so
Leonard
Trudeau
Cohen.
became 68. I guess.
Next
Okay.
up,
Good to know.
Let's hit it.
Walking down Young Street on a Friday. Can't follow them, gotta do it my way.
That was fast, Alex.
So chaos, crab in the bucket.
We're gonna accept it's crab bucket.
Okay.
But the gist, yeah.
And
who was Prime Minister?
I want to say Paul Martin.
You are right. Impressive.
I was debating between Paul Martin and
Is 2004, August. On to the next one. Alex.
So Shania Twain.
What's the song?
Any Man in Mine.
You are right.
Thank you, Shania. Yeah, sorry, just like sing anything. And then I'm going Jean Chrétien.
You are right. February 1995, a little over a year into Jean Chrétien's tenure as Prime Minister. We have tapped into some. Is this a secret talent of Alex?
There's a Substack about this.
2 more chances to score some points, contestants. Here we go. That was Chris.
The Weekend. No, it's not
Oh,
The Weekend.
it is not The
But I know
Weekend.
the PM is Justin Trudeau.
That is also incorrect.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Alex.
So it's Drake. The song Just Hold On, We're Going Home. And then it would be Stephen Harper.
You are right.
Wow.
One last track for you.
I got my first real 6-string.
Shannon.
So it's Bryan Adams, Summer of '69.
That's
so
one
I'm going to
point.
get one sad point in this round.
Just go for it. Who was Prime Minister?
I'm going to guess Chrétien.
No, I'm sorry.
Rats.
Chris had originally buzzed in, so you are the next up, Chris.
I think it's Trudeau Sr.
No, Alex.
Brian Mulroney.
You are right. Okay. The final scores are in. We've got Shannon with 17 points, Chris with 27 points, and Alex, our winner, with a whopping 32 points. Alex,
Crazy. Wow.
Alexander, how does it feel?
I feel like I was saved by the music, which is kind of like a loophole, maybe.
That's okay. I've been saved by that in the past. Just take it.
Yeah.
Just one more way that 2025 was unpredictable,
Wow,
I would say.
Wow.
Hey,
there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. This was a blast. We look forward to it every year. Our contestants, Alex Ballingall of the Toronto Star, Shannon Proudfoot of the Globe and Mail, Christopher Nardi of the National Post, and an enormous thank you to our quizmaster, the amazing Emma Godmere, and our fabulous senior producer this week, Kristen Everson. I am Catherine Cullen. Thank you so much for listening.